Ice cream lovers, Steve Christensen here, the Ice Cream Bloke, self-appointed headmaster of Scoop School, back in Wildwood, Missouri. If you've been following our trips around the globe, we've done some great things over the past couple of months. If you haven't, I'll give you a bit of a at the end of the video so you can see one of the ones we were talking about. We're back again in the Scoop School facility, back answering your questions and all of the conundrums and problems that people have in the ice cream business. I do want to thank again our episode sponsor, which is Lloyd's of Pennsylvania. You've got Andy on one side of the desk, Barry on the other side of the desk, and somewhere in the middle, and I can't remember her name, sadly enough, Pat, Kim, I know it's one syllable. The lady that answers the phone there is incredible as well. Great team, will do any kind of mix for you. They're based in Pennsylvania, but they handle most of the East Coast. I like to say Lloyd's of Pennsylvania, because it's two L's. Anyway, their link is down below, and we thank them very much for their sponsorship. Great mix, great people to deal with. Okay, so talking about mix and ice cream, we want to talk a little bit about overrun, which is the amount of air as a percentage that's in your ice cream. We may not run this as a whiteboard Wednesday. If we do, we'll insert the jingle here. But if we don't, there would have been just some blank space there. You can't win them all. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about overrun. We have other videos on overrun. I'll get Madeline to link some of them down below. But here's the thing about overrun. People get very pedantic about what type of overrun they want in their products. But overrun is never a constant. So what we have, let's talk about a batch freezer. So here's the barrel of our batch freezer. And we've got some scraper blades in here that are churning the product. And let's say we put a 10% fat product into our batch freezer, no other particulates, no other flavors, maybe just a little bit of vanilla extract. Let's say we get out the bottom there an overrun of 50%. So we've put a gallon in, we got a gallon and a half out, pretty standard 50% overrun. Now, if we put in the same batch freezer, the same rotation, same refrigeration, let's say we put a 14% mix in there, right on the back of the 10. We put it into the batch freezer, and the dasher turns, refrigeration comes on, it churns for a period of time. Now that may come out at, let's say, 65%, because we've upped the butter fat and done nothing else. Our overrun has come up a little bit. More fat equals more air, particularly when it comes to a batch freezer. Now here's the thing. Most people are running somewhere. I'm just going to sneak off and get a green pen. 1 second. Okay. Most people are running either a 14% or let's say a 16%. If I put that 16% into the batch freezer, I might get, let's say, same rotation, nothing's changed. I might get, let's say, 70% overrun. Honestly, the difference between a 14 and a 16% butterfat product kicking out a between 60 and 70% overrun, no one is ever going to know the difference. I would even challenge ice cream experts, including myself, to detect a swing in overrun percentage of 5 or 10%. I think people can judge between maybe a 50% or a 10% butterfat versus a 16%. But honestly, the swing is so low when it comes to that kind of 5 or 10%, no one's ever going to know anyway. I really don't think it's worth the process of getting worked up about it. Added to that, so remember we just put a vanilla extract in our 10%. Let's say in our 16%, one of our favorite flavors is a black raspberry cheesecake. So we're going to put a cheesecake flavor, which is quite tart, and it's going to thicken the mix. So if we ran the 16% with regular vanilla, we might get 70%. You add now a cheesecake base, makes the mix thicker, you might end up getting a 78% out of the same mix, same batch freezer, but because we added a little bit of different process in the flavor arena, now you've got a little bit difference again. I kind of scratch my head sometimes when people say, well, you know, I want my overrun to be 53%. It will never stay 53% because you're going to put different flavor profiles in that mix. So I think you can shoot for a ballpark, but it's very, very hard to do so. Another thing added on to that, but let's say this, for example, is a 40-quart batch freezer, one of the big ones. The overrun at the beginning of the batch, if we're looking side on, and this is 40-quart batch freezer here, we're extracting out of the front. The overrun at the beginning of the batch may even be different than the overrun at the end of the batch by the time this has come out of the larger barrel, because of a little bit of softening and so forth. I think overruns are very important, and I think you should have a goal, but I don't think you should be pedantic about it because there's so many different variables that come into it. You'll just drive yourself crazy. Anyway, I'm interested in your comments. What do you run your product at? Do you see a difference in the front and back of the batch when it comes to overrun? Whether it's more dense at the back, softened a little bit? Share your thoughts with us, and if you have any questions, again, leave the one down below. We do want to thank again our episode sponsor, Andy, Barry, and the crew at Lloyd's. Their link is down below. And look, while you're down there, now I'm going to remember how to do this. So up here is our link to subscribe. Down here is that video I was talking about, one of the more exotic ones from overseas. And under the arm, we'll take you to scoopschool.com. Keep on scooping. We'll see you in the next video.